We'll be having a panel discussion on leadership dynamics in the era of digital transformation and innovation. A little about this session. This session will focus on the latest advancement in the technology, artificial intelligence, and digital strategies shaping various industries and the role of leadership. Calling upon the speakers who are on our panel, Ms. Supriya Salian, Mr. Ravi Kumar, Mr. Sudarshan BV, Ms. Lavanya Pachisia. We welcome you on this dais. The session will be moderated by Mr. Aravind Thondan. Mr. Aravind Thondan is the Managing Director of Singularis Wealth Pvt Ltd and past chair of CII Young Indians Bangalore chapter. With 17 years of experience in financial services, he brings a wealth of expertise to the table. And also to know, he's been always a cheerleader for IWN Karnataka. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for that introduction. And I just wanted to share two things about today's exceptional day. Our Karnataka CII chairman, Mr. Vijay Krishnan, spoke about doing things in the opening remark. And if you observe the stage, you see the gender parity, right? So Ivan is doing it, and we have inclusivity is also happening, and if you exclude me, right? So in terms of panel, it's proper balance. And if you add all of us, I would say Ivan is most inclusive body in the country, probably more men in Ivan event on the stage. So we are already doing it. I think definitely we'll do a lot more. And many of us have worked with Julin, and when Julin calls you for something, she calls like this. So you have a panel to moderate. There's no question asked, are you available? Are you okay? What is the title? Then I said, okay, since it's Julin, and I said, okay. And then she shared the profiles of all the speakers. Then I had to really be courageous within to lead. Yeah. So that's the rich panel profile we have. And I'm not going to take more time introducing the panel because I didn't get any of their profile. Last minute pressure. And two of them I worked few events personally. Two of them I've learned in the journey of hosting this panel. Few things are common. All the four panelists have global experience. Either they studied abroad or worked in multinational gains, which is present in more than 50 plus countries. Phenomenal profile. Now LinkedIn is open to all. We can go more, research about the speakers. And I'm not going to share their individual experiences. Then you will start guessing their age. So collectively, all of them bring close to 100 years of experience. And most importantly, all of them have made sure that they're doing something very, very meaningful and impactful in our country. Okay. To my right, Lavanya. In today's world, we all know what is the unicorn definition which a newspaper talks. Personally, to me, the real unicorns, one becomes profitable. And she turned Zivame a profitable venture now, right? And she was a CFO, and now she is the Chief Operating Officer of Zivame. In a tech world, startup world, every day there is talk about profit. When will the profitability comes? And when we get to see the profit? She already demonstrated it. And being a CA, she was recently awarded, she was the most fashion iconic brand in the fashion retail, being a CA. So huge round of applause for that.
Why the stereotype CA and fashion? They go together.
I'll connect that later. And coming to Sudarshan, he's the currently he's taken over as the managing director of NTTF. After the panel was announced, he was given the role he's taken over, right? It was after the panel was announced, right? The poster was out and then he was announced as the managing director. That happened. Congratulations to Sudarshan. Huge round of applause to him. I'll tell you why. If they're not going to successfully train our youth of our country, all the manufacturing dream is going to be not easy to achieve for our country. So they have so far trained close to 70,000 youths of our country to be technically skilled who are employable immediately. So that's the kind of impact they are doing under NTTF. And now to my left, I'll start with Ravi. Ravi is now the Chief People Officer of Page Industries. And what is unique about Page Industry is that they have close to 30,000 employees. 3,000 are corporate employees, who like all of us work in corporate environment. About 25,000 of them are rural women working on the shop floor. So when I say 25,000, 90% of them are women in rural areas. In their factories they work, 90%. That again brings to today morning back leadership's discussion about inclusivity. And that's phenomenal what they're up to. We'll hear more from Ravi. And Supriya, I just met her right now. She just drove from Mysore, right? When that Bangalore-Mysore highway was announced, she was the happiest person because she can come straight and catch the flight. So after seeing her, I stopped complaining anything about Bangalore going to place A to place B. And now she said, 1 o'clock she will have to be back in Mysore. I was thinking, how is it possible? So that is what it is. And our company, Plansee High Performance Material, right? We all talk about manufacturing. The last 5 years become a buzzword. This company is close to 4 decades old in Mysore, based in Mysore. It's a really high-tech company. There are 500 people working, and the products go across the globe. And it is really high-tech manufacturing, which is happening out of Mysore, and Supriya is leading them. So we can't have a bigger or richer panel than this. So we're going to start by asking all of them, because it's about leadership dynamic and digital transformation. We're going to touch more about leadership dynamic and definitely the digital transformation as well. So I'll start with Lavanya asking, what is one technology today which you think is going to transform your industry or the industry in general, and which you discuss with your team or in your board meetings, which is the one technology? And I'll request all panelists to start that technology from it, and then we will take that forward.
So one thing, considering we are in fashion, consumer fashion industry, so for people, I think most of the people should know Zivame. We are a lingerie, started as an online lingerie company, but today we are like obviously present across all channels. One thing which I really think has a technology which I'm closely monitoring for us is actually AI, how it is going to kind of play a role in all aspects of consumerism, how it is going to do so, whether the shopping experience, personalization, what we are talking about. We have started adopting AI in shoots, models, like how we are putting the products, and how can you start designing from for every aspect. I think so AI is kind of going to take over, and that's one trend which is definitely here to watch out for.
Good morning. Still, I think we should give Aravind a round of applause because he memorized all our company profiles without even looking into any of the notes or whatever it is. It's a tremendous capacity which today's generation might not have, because everything they depend on some iPhone or any phone to look out anything in the Google. So himself he is made as a Google. Thank you very much for the lovely introduction. Before going to the actual subject, I was just reading a cartoon. It says one person asked the other, "Are you concerned about artificial intelligence?" The reply was, "I'm concerned about the real intelligence now." So because artificial intelligence is taking over everything, how come we manage with the real intelligence? I just want to ask the audience one question. We come from a belief, if the handwriting is good, the personality is good as well. How many of you believe that? Or did you believe in your, so many people? And the grammar, how one can talk with good grammar and write with good grammar, right? These were taught in our schools meticulously. Now with just one chat GPT, it has taken over everything. You don't have to have a good handwriting or any grammar. If you just put a command, everything which comes out simultaneously, right? Maybe I'll have some more questions to answer, then I'll come back. I have a lot of things to say. But technology, I'm from the education and the training background, so technology is, especially after the COVID, this EdTech, we are using the learning management system and especially the simulation. So we have cut down a lot of time in using the simulation techniques than actual training, so which has helped our people. And also data management. So today, one of the leadership characteristics as well, the data is available today at real time and any time. So one of the key quality a leader should have in humility, that he should know the other person might know more than you as well. It is possible. So how to deal with the challenge of the other person knowing more than you. So it is a challenge for the leadership, which we can address it later. I'll come back later. Thank you.
Supriya?
Thank you. I think first I would like to say I come from a hardcore engineering manufacturing background. I've been with CII for a long time, so it's very rare for me to sit in a panel and have so many women facing me. And it really gives a lot of pleasure to have this kind of setup. Yeah, again, thank you, Aravind. You really came prepared. I think when Julian reached out and said, Aravind is moderating session, there is absolutely no way to say no. And I'm really, really happy to be here. And really, the drive from Mysore is just about 2 hours now, so it's absolutely not a problem. Like I said, I come from a hardcore engineering manufacturing background. What we are seeing today is huge opportunities for India. You mentioned we have 500 people. Over the last 1 year, we already have 620 people working. Technology that we are focusing on is one in terms of 5G, the connectivity, and then to use this towards the Internet of Things to see how we are able to collect data from our manufacturing, how we are able to use automation much more than we have used in the past. Maybe that's one technology we would be looking at.
Thank you, Aravind, and special thank you to the IWN for inviting me here as well. Pleasure to be here. It's an honor, and I agree with Supriya. This is one of my first times as well, with so many women in the room. Humbling experience. Fair point that it's AI, etc., and also how we use data. But I still feel that it's a lot about technologies do change quite a bit, and we've been seeing this especially in the last 5 or 10 years. But it's also about insights. So I strongly feel that any technology that's going to come in and is going to help us understand data, to your point, let's say engineering data or let's say people data, how do you bring it together to help us make an impact? For example, in this case, how do we impact a lot of the women that IWN is working with? We saw some examples on the screen earlier in the day. I think that is going to be extremely disruptive. Whether it's AI, whether it's some other technology, honestly, that's not as important as the insights that it helps us derive and the actions that it helps us take.
Excellent. Thanks, Ravi. Ravi, now that you have the mic, I want to ask the next question to you directly, is that all 4 of us spoke about different kind of technologies which are coming into place, but you are in a very unique role because you always worked on culture, people. How do communicate effectively in today's world with your team, your employees? Because technology is changing rapidly and you have people at all levels. Right? How are you going to communicate? How can be a successful communicator today's digital transformation era, Ravi?
Thank you, Aravind. That's a difficult one. I myself am not one of those, so I have not been successful, but I'll give it a try. I've had a lot of bosses in my career who've been very good at this, so I'll pick up some examples. And also to Supriya's point, I've had a lot of women bosses because I'm in HR. I've been in HR all the time, like yourself many years ago. And I think I've learned more from the lady bosses that I've had in my career, and some of them in places like Singapore as well. I think a lot of them did use this what, how impact, philosophy to talk about the purpose. Why are we doing something that goes into the organization? Why are we picking up a new technology? Why are we changing a policy, for example? And then also talk about how it impacts the person or how it impacts the organization and what's in it for me. And I think if we are able to, sort of put it together or any message in that fashion, whether it's technology, whether it's a transformation, whether we are merging a company or we are demerging, I think it makes absolute sense in terms of, the person who's receiving the communication. So to be fair, a lot of my CEOs have used this very effectively. It's also a bit about vulnerability, saying that, look, I'm as impacted as you, or I'm as benefiting as you guys. And I think if we as leaders put ourselves out there for everyone to see and decide that, if this is happening to him or her, I should also be able to manage this. And I think a lot of this is also about how we, make changes in the organization or how we move about in terms of change.
I'll ask one more follow-up question before we move to Supriya. You touched upon how we communicated to the team. Now you are the HR. Generally in companies, they're very careful talking with HRs, right? So why take risk talking to HR? So how do you ensure that you get the feedback from them, what they want to tell you, not what you want to hear?
Right, I'll go back to that vulnerability thing, right? So I love to say this. One of my managing directors, who was a German national, used to say this to me. He was very critical about the HR function, but I love this guy. I worked with him for 5 years, and one of the things he would say is HR is too important to be left to HR people, right? So I still believe this. No, I'm serious. I believe this. I still say it. People laugh about it. When I join a new organization, my first presentation is this, and people still laugh about it. But it's great because you're putting yourself out there, saying that I'm not the expert, I don't know everything, and let's have a conversation. So when you don't look like a policeman or a policewoman, I think it's a little easier for people to come and talk to you. So I think if we do that as HR folks, and any leader, I think a lot of us also worry about meeting our CFOs, right? No offense to finance people in the room. But I think if we put ourselves out there, and I think our keynote speakers spoke about it, if you put your boundaries, and also if you tell people that I don't have this boundary, on the other hand, I think it becomes far more easier to have a two-way communication.
Thank you, Ravi. Now, coming to Supriya, that, as you said, it's a hardcore engineering company. Now, you've been adding rapidly young talents because your business is growing. And you always have the set of people who've been working for a long time in the organization and new set of people joining in. How do you ensure there is stability in the company as well as you innovate consistently, right? How do you manage that in a hardcore engineering company like yours?
Yeah, thank you, Aravind. See, the first question is whether you see stability, normal operations, and innovation and new talent as complementary or conflicting, approach. The first instinct is to, especially from a manufacturing background, is to look at it as conflicting. When I'm running my normal operations, my instruction to people is don't go away from the instructions, don't do anything which is not prescribed in the process. On the other side, when I want people to be innovative and I want people to be, to try and do new things, it's completely a different approach. But you're right, the fine balance and the stability is important to make an organization absolutely resilient, and this is what we have specifically seen in the last few years. Why you brought about the difference between the older generation and the newer, I think this is one of the challenges we definitely face. Again, specifically in manufacturing, I have been doing it in this way for the last 50 years and it is working. So why is it that I now need to change? So one of the first things I think that as leadership, what's important is to communicate, first of all, to have a vision and understanding that you need absolutely both sides. Then to be able to communicate this vision. And here again, I agreed a little bit to what Ravi was talking, was in terms of vulnerability. I think it's important to express that yes, there are risks, yes, there are certain challenges that we will approach, and then is to be able to create a suitable environment to be able to be able to do this. And when I say vulnerability, I think this leads a little bit for people to have the trust that maybe I can take decisions, maybe I can, it's okay to go wrong, it's okay to fail, and I will have this support. I think this is really very important, and this I think is something that we as leaders can do. Beyond this, Aravind, I think there are very, very simple things, simply on the way how you set up an office, are you in a collaborative mode? This is one of the challenges that we really faced during COVID. People were not talking to each other, and you see that your collaboration and innovation scale really drops down considerably. So simple things like that, I think, also make a considerable difference.
I'll ask one more follow-up question to that now. You touched upon a point, young people, and you're also allowing them to innovate. How do you measure that we are able to successfully innovate certain project and we are able to add value to the company? How do you set your innovation metrics that we are able to make a progress?
So we have a specific innovation program. At the beginning of every year, we set up an innovation budget. How much is it that we want to allocate towards investments, R&D towards innovation. We also measure how many new products we introduce, what has been the time to get those products into a market. Are we able to generate recycling? Are we able to contribute anything towards the green programs? But I think these are all matrices which are it's easy to, you can define a number and you're able to measure it. What's more important and difficult, I think, to see is how you change the mindset of the people. How do you measure, this aspect? If you have a new program, how many ideas do you get? Are people involved? Are people willing to contribute? I think this is something which we really want to work on and find, metrics to be able to measure that.
That's insightful. Thank you, Supriya. Sudarshan, now that NTTF has evolved over a period of time, 6 decades is not small, because when you started with the purpose and how that time the industry was, and today see difference. Now that what is your vision that you've been leading this NTTF for a long time, and you have huge responsibility of sending skilled manpower to our country, to all the industries. So what is your vision going forward in this digital transformation era?
Yeah, as you mentioned, NTTF started in 60 years back. Swiss government people came on a boat and started a small center near Kerala. So the main intention and purpose is to skill the young youth of India and make India as a skilled country. So the vision started long back. So the vision remains same, that we want to skill the people for the country of India. So it also brings back me the book Rehumanization I read. So he talks about the purpose of any organization will take you forward. Because in today's world, it is very difficult to motivate young generation, okay? You might give them a good laptop and good office or whatever it is, but you are not connected to the purpose. It is very difficult to get the good motivation and work from them. A lot of good companies are there. NTTF is now, we have a purpose to skill the nation and develop the youth for employability skills. That is the purpose which will continue, okay? And we will also add digital technology and transformation into it. But all the companies today talking about redefining their purpose, right? Like Volvo, for example, they want to talk about the sustainable transformation, and they want to talk about the green energy and other things. They're working really hard. Many companies are redefining, you call it sustainability, and ESG is taking over. That is redefining the purpose. In fact, that drives the organization. I don't want to be a disclaimer, a political analyst here. Take, for example, of our Prime Minister. He defined the purpose so clearly where none of our corporate leaders are also failing, right? He defines the purpose, India will be the 5th largest economy, and he will say third economy it will become soon, and make in India. So he defines the purpose, and the digitization follows automatically. So this is what, and we enable all the students with laptops and new software, and we have all the collaboration possible with all the industries on new technologies, AI or machine learning. So until now, we have kept pace with the technology, right? But going forward, we have realized that it will not be sufficient. So we should be more doing a research. 5 years ahead we need to think, because the technology catch up very fast. So we are thinking in terms of, like, say, biomechatronics. I don't know, it is coming very fast. Because some of you know this, the cancer cells grow very fast on the normal temperature of the human body, okay? And there is a research, if you make it a little bit vacuum and maintain the temperature, the cancer cell won't grow. So this is coming out fast. So people are thinking and designing how to make a small device which will control only that area. So it will become more helpful for the humanity. So like this, a lot of things are catching up, and NTTF is constantly working on to catch up, one with the technology and also continue the purpose what we have built for.
I have another follow-up question to it. All of us are having a clear business definition in our organizations, be it apparel or engineering, wealth management. But you can't have that, because you supplement, I mean, you train youth for every organization into manufacturing and skill set. How do you and your team make sure that you kind of connected with various industries and you build that curriculum in such a way, again, it's 60 year, same question what I asked Supriya, that you have faculties who are like 40 years in the system. How do you ensure that you're updated about latest technologies coming across the industry, and what process you follow in NTTF to ensure that you're up to date and you're training the next generation.
Yep. As you know, I come from the multinational companies where they have real policy deployment, vision and targets, everything. But when I joined NTTF, I didn't see any of those things. So it was a bit surprised. So I tried to put something like target, vision, 5 years we will be there and other things, but it was not well appreciated or taken by the people, because the people were very passionate about what they are doing, okay? And the word of mouth is so good. So we don't have to go after the business plan. Business was coming to us. So we are just keeping pace with whatever the business. Maybe it sounds a little bit wrong in today's world where everybody talks. But ultimately, one thing we have realized, if you do a good job and if you make an impact, so you don't have to worry about the business, it keeps coming. So that's where we are, it is continuing. And the other question, how do we keep pace with the changes? So we have an active academic council where the industry people are on our board, and they bring us all the latest technology, and we revise our curriculum every 6 months, so we keep updated. And we have an active partnership with the leading industry. For example, Cisco cybersecurity, we have an active partnership. So we teach on the cyber, you know, cybersecurity is in high demand today, because as the technology progresses, both the sides will grow, on positive and negative. So there will be breakers. In fact, Bangalore is the highest cyber crime today in the country. So we need to protect these kind of crimes. So we need more cyber security engineers. So we have a Cisco tie-up. And you keep hearing this Industry 4.0, right? So all things are getting automated, robotics, control, and Internet of Things. So for this, we have an active collaboration, for example, with the Bosch, for example. We have a collaboration. They come and teach to our students, and we have developed together a curriculum. So one is we have a academic council strong, which consists of industry, and we have active collaboration with all leading industries, so which take us forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Revising once in 6 months is not easy now. Over to Lavanya. Lavanya, you have an active CFO in the company now? Or oh, okay. Now, the point I want to ask is that when you go with the new digital transformation project, does your CFO say we don't have funds to you?
No.
Yeah, because not possible, because she was the CFO before. Now that
No. So the difference is we started as a digital first company. Okay. I think so. We didn't face all that problems of being traditional and then come to digital. We started with digital. We were one of the first industry or one of the first companies to actually sell lingerie online. So our premise of existence of the company is on digital. So there is not a question of whether there is investment or not investment. He will rather have a point of view to say कि यहाँ store नहीं खोलना है because the return is slower. But I don't think so. I don't think so. We have it in us also to say that we'll not have a technology budget with us. Yeah.
Excellent. The point again I want to add to it is that is on the softer side. The second piece is that how do you decide the risk management side of it? Because as you said, you started as a digital company. Now you are opening stores in multiple locations. Now the term, the physical is emerging. And between the gut feeling and the data coming in, right now you're the chief operating officer, you'll have a bigger perspective about the company and the growth. And there is always a gut side of it and there is a data side of it. And this scenario, how do you take the decision, and also how do you do the risk management in such scenarios?
See, one thing you have to accept is that every business decision obviously comes with a risk, okay? So you cannot be risk averse, and that I think so was the biggest learning for me myself as I've transitioned roles from CFO to CEO, and today actually when I run as a business unit head. The biggest thing what finance guys, at least I would say that, are taught that you have to be risk averse. ये project ले रहे हैं, इसमें क्या क्या risk है, उसको कैसे mitigate करोगे? That is the question which you have been asked from your bosses all throughout, okay? One thing, as I moved roles, I learned that you have to take risk, but what is your risk appetite to take? Initially, your risk appetite is obviously small, but you have to take certain risks as you kind of go forward. Time will tell you how it kind of pays off. So when Zivame, while we started as an initial digital company, was doing really well, there was no reason for us to say that we will start going to retail and start opening stores, because your growth was anyway coming very fast, right? But we accelerated store opening post-COVID. You know, like during COVID, most of the people came back and said they will come digital. We said, no, we will accelerate store opening because the rentals were good. It's a time to actually consolidate position, go aggressive into the market, because at that point, all data kept on indicating that it will take more time for people to return back. But I said, when they return back, we are also there at bank. So we did acceleration of about 100 stores we opened post-COVID. So if you say, if I was always looking at data and said, no, data is indicating that it is not the correct time to go, you know, digital is there because all traditional people are coming to digital. I said, no, this is the time when we will go into retail. So I think so, while you have data, which gives you an indication, but you still have to validate that by, obviously in Zivame, one thing which we really stand for is what is that you're doing for the consumer? What is that the consumer wants? So having worked in large organizations and obviously working in startup ecosystem, how it works is, there is one problem, the whole company is trying to solve that one problem. It does not matter. The last person on the ground to the CXOs, all are trying to solve that one problem which you have identified, and you say you have to go. Whereas in the large organizations, like I've obviously worked in large organizations before I joined Zivame, there you have multiple, you know, it's more structured and each one is trying to solve one problem. So here, when you know that all what I'm trying to do is to catch that consumer, and I want to you know, give her the best user experience, the best product, then you have to go with the gut, saying that, hey, you know, she will come back to shop offline, if not now, next 6 months, and if at that point of time, if I'm not there, then I'm again going to lose the market. So I guess it's, while you will have data, but you need to take decisions based on gut. Data will give you affirmation saying that, yes, the risk capacity of something going right or wrong is, say, X or Y, but you need to finally take a decision on the gut, and that helps you to propel and move forward. Another good thing is, there are times when you go wrong. The data will help you to mitigate that again. Okay, what didn't I not digress in the data well, which led to, you know, say this going wrong? So what is that I kind of missed out at? So I felt decisions are obviously, you need guts to take decisions.
It's again, as Sudarshan mentioned, the end of the day, that human instinct, the gut comes to play a major role in even in digital transformation. Yeah. So I want to ask another follow-up question, that today we are all talking about data and our vulnerability, and especially companies like yours, where there are a lot of sensitive informations are stored in today's world, and there is always a fear of, you know, things going wrong with the data, because Bangalore being, as Sudarshan mentioned, the cybercrime hub. And as a leader, and today morning again, the chairman touched upon, it's lonely at the top. How do you deal with this kind of fear and vulnerability in today's digital transformation? What do you specifically do, one or two things, which all of us can learn? You know, this is how I manage the fear and the risks involved in the job I do.
Yeah, I think so. Data, there is no company so the extent of data availability is different, but obviously the data risk exists for each and every company or every corporate who kind of operates out, right? So in your tech budget, how much are you allocating it for security is obviously one of the key things which we kind of look at it from a business perspective. One thing today is that there are a lot of tools which are available which can actually tell you what is the, you know, the gaps which you have in data. You know, like while you will have a overall security defined for the entire data set, whatever you have, but you have, with so much of technological advancement, at least with my CTO, what I work is, we run the tools every now and then to see what is the data vulnerability which we see, and what is the, you know, the whether it's a P0, P1, P2, and then we kind of go and fix that, Also, we do like, like bug fixes or bug bash within our tech teams, where we ourselves go and try to see how you can kind of break the data. We get people from other companies, considering that we are part of Reliance. We get people from other tech within the companies to kind of come and try to see whether there are vulnerabilities which exist, and we kind of fix it. Also, we go through audits every half yearly, quarterly. So there is a stringent audit which kind of gets done on an ongoing basis, which actually helps us to ensure that we are secure at all points of time.
And what gives you worry in the night when you're a leader at the top and you're dealing with all this digital transformation? Do you fear this can go wrong and I'll be out of the job? And what can go wrong, which gives you sleepless nights, and how do you deal with that?
I'm not worried that I'll go out of the job. If I'm doing it, somebody else will do it. I don't think so. I have fear of that. But I think so what gives me sleepless nights is actually, are you being ahead in the curve? What are those problems which you have not identifying, which you are kind of solving? The second thing is like, how do you, how do you kind of keep the team motivated? What are the next big challenges? See, another peculiar thing, or very this thing to Zivame is, you have a very advanced digital forward kind of people, and at the same time we have about 200 stores where we have the typical brick and mortar people who are there, so you have two set of organizations which we have within Zivame, actually, if you see. So how do you keep, so the motivation of this kind of people is obviously very different from what you do with the brick and mortar level. How do you keep it challenged? How do you kind of keep on showing them growth all throughout, and ensure that everybody sees value and how they kind of get onto the table? You are giving enough time to both set of organizations is actually something which I keep on pondering on, saying that, everybody sees that they're getting the best thing to the table.
It's always nice if someone else talks about their sleepless night, what giving them sleepless night, we feel better, okay, we are all the same. Right? That's why I make sure that I ask this question to every panelist. So everybody agree, right? You can feel free to give a use. Human beings means there should be something to give. Yesterday I had a sleepless night because of my newborn baby. I had no chance to think of anything else. But yes, so coming to Ravi, in today's world, how do you attract the right talent and retain them? And also, what do you look at when you're hiring at various levels, the kind of talent in the other person?
Thank you, Aravind. And this is what gives me sleepless nights. Yeah, I was worried about today as well, No, I'm joking. But yeah, seriously, I think it's a big question. It's a big ask, getting the right people, also keeping them, ensuring that they grow. And honestly, and I'll again come back to the, HR is not as important as it looks thing, because it's everyone's responsibility. I think all of us lose sleep about this, especially when a team member says, look, I'm not happy with something, or there's some other place where I'm going to be happier. So this is always a big quagmire. Coming to, how does this work? I don't think anyone has, sort of got this right. But still, few things that I've done, or let's say our leaders have done over the last few years, and some of the organizations that I worked with, I think this is also what I think some of us were saying, like Sudarshan, be clear about the purpose, right? Why should someone join me is the question these days. It's not about, do I want you or not? It's always about, why should I join you? What do you guys do? Also, what do you guys do for the environment? What are you doing for people who are underprivileged? So I think if that is clear, you have a clear vision, you talk about it, you actually live it. And going back to what our CII chairperson said in the morning, it's also about doing it, right? So people are watching you, talent is watching you, whether they are inside or outside. As an organization, if we walk the talk, we actually do what we say, and we also go around talking about it. then I think you have talent looking for you, right? And there are lots of organizations, some of us on this dais here as well, where a lot of people would love to come and work for. And I think that's where I would love to reach, and I think many of us haven't. Inside the organization, I think it's again about what is it that we are aspiring for. There always has to be a direction. And I'll again go back to the keynote speech. There has to be a boundary as well. I think if we are able to articulate that very clearly as leaders, talent will stay with us. Yeah, and I'm speaking from real experience. I think I've been in organizations where this was not very clear. And let's say your India strategy is not clear, your APAC strategy is not clear. If it's not clear, the best people leave, right? And I think all of us would do the same, right? So I think as people who run organizations, great to have a clear purpose, great to have actions that really go towards the purpose, and also look at the future and give some direction. I think you spoke about our Prime Minister. He always talks about something in the future. And I think we all have to learn from that. If we are very clear where we are going, or at least an idea about which direction we should be going, I think that really gets talent up to speed, and they are wanting to go with you. It's also what Lavanya said just now. Where do we want to be? We want to be offline, online. And if that is clear, I have a set of talent moving towards the online stores, and then of course there is a set of people who are on e-commerce, and they are my talent over there as well. So if I'm able to define these two, then I'm also very clear about where I can keep my talent.
Thanks, Ravi. Now coming to Supriya, you are in a very unique role. One side, as you said in the beginning, that the first time you're seeing so many women, otherwise in engineering industry, it's more of men everywhere. That you have one side, it's a high technology, so you need to keep up with the technology and the innovation. Other side, you have men all around in your employees, in shop floor and R&D everywhere. And you have to be a good manager as well. How do you cope up to this challenge? And what kind of personal time, how do you manage your personal time in terms of learning with the new innovation and then managing the team and personal life as well?
So Aravind, before I answer the question, it's exactly 5 years today since I took over the company. It was a company that was run by my dad for 40 years. Thank you so much. And one of the first things that people used to come up and tell me was, your dad has run the company for 40 years in a very different way, and you're much softer. So how will you be able to run this organization? I think this is where I took my cue on what you're saying, on what is it. So there are different leadership styles, whether it's digital world or the new age. I think what I had to do was to explain to people that, one, I will be more collaborative. I am not somebody who's, don't expect me to be an authoritarian leader who gives you every decision. My expectation is that we do this together. So different centers of. Two, I think you tend to believe, especially in today's world, that you need to have the knowledge on every subject. So to be able to disconnect in this and say that, no, I'm not an expert in this area, and I'm looking at you to be able to, to give the views. Yes, I will take the decision. I'm not shying away from taking a decision. But there has to be input from different areas of leadership to be able to do that. Whether I have completely learned to manage my work and life, I don't know. To some extent, as Supriya was saying, I think I really enjoy what I do. So it doesn't tire me out in any way. Yes, there are things that keep me open. One thing that I've learned to do is to not have any FOMO in terms of missing out. So to learn to distinguish between knowledge and information. I'm okay if I'm not informed about certain topics, as long as I have the knowledge that I need to be able to do this. How do you stay updated? I think this is not very difficult in today's world, with information being available so vastly. So.
You made it sound very easy, but we understand what it takes.
So I'm sorry, I'll just add one point. I think in that 5 years, we have grown 2 times in terms of revenue and 2 times in terms of people. So a different kind of leadership style definitely works. That's all I would like to say.
Great takeaway, Supriya. Thanks for that. And coming to Sudarshan now, before we open it to, we're going to have a Q&A with audience, and we are on time, I think. That's what we say. Here, Sudarshan, so now you've trained 70,000 plus youth of a country. And today, all of us, I have 2 sons now, and they will get into school education. And what today's schooling system can do something different, because you've been in the skilling, to skill today's youth. And how, as a parent, what skills I should tell the next generation? These are going to be very critical from here.
Yeah, it's a challenging question. See, compared to other Western countries, like I lived in Germany and Japan, so 90% of them go for so-called vocational skills. Means they develop skills and master in one of the skills. It could be a robotics, it could be a carpentry, it could be a... There, the status is equal to any other engineer. But unfortunately, in India, we have this kind of parity that any electrician or anything. So we have always this comparison. Always degree matters here in this country. But it is slowly changing. So the vocational education is getting importance. So it is important to learn some kind of a vocational skills during the schooling. That's very, very important. And the other important thing, what I recommend is the social skills. Today, the children are so much hooked on to the internet and the equipments, they severely lack social skills. They cannot even introduce themselves properly to another. So they're very good in chatting and other things if you come and talk to them. So this is a very, very important thing for us to impart the social skill and some kind of one or two skills during their technical skills. In the high school itself, we need to impart. We are also working in the direction to impart the school, at the school, how to introduce the vocational education. So this could help a long way.
So the soft skills are spoken so much from a managing director of a company which teaches technical skills. So we all know how important these soft skills are now. Now we'll open the floor for all of you to ask the questions. So there are a few things. Please ask only one question per person. No statements or personal views, and no follow-up questions also, to give opportunities for everyone. One question per person. You can introduce your name and the company and ask the question directly. If you wish to ask directly to the panelist, you can take the name and ask. That's the thing. Can we have the mic go around? There's a lady here in the first table.
Thank you. This was a very interesting panel. My name is Pooja, and I'm the owner of a company called Unfold. I do a lot of work in the space of entrepreneurship. So and this was a very interesting topic, which is about technology and innovation. And I want to talk about the conflict. And Sudarshan, you brought up something that I was thinking as the panel was going, really on the cybercrime and security. So looking at the fact that innovation requires freedom and technology sort of propels that. But at the same time, this fake data, fake information, and using technology for the wrong side. So how much of governance and organizations I know are really upping their firewalls and also sort of creating fortresses because of what's happening in the macro. So how do you balance that, where you create an environment to nurture innovation, but at the same time you're able to manage the other side of technology? So that's the dilemma, the conflict. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, this is the nightmare I have. He didn't ask me that question because our students are so clever. They can make my deepfake video and they can make me walking in New York Street or lying on a beach. They can do anything. So this is the...
I'm hiring those students.
Yeah, but at the same time, we need to appreciate their creativity. We cannot keep the boundaries in this area. We should appreciate their creativity. We should encourage that. This is where again I come back, the moral science is very important. What for you use it for. So this is, as a culture, we need to bring in, and as an upliftment. So this requires a constant lifelong learning education. Because at times they get motivated to earn a quick buck and they will do something. So which may not be in the larger interest of society. So bringing a good moral education, and also we need to have two kinds of groups, one to do creativity, one to address how to control if something goes wrong. So both should be managed simultaneously. Thank you.
Any other questions? There, second table here.
Great panel discussion. I have a question to Supriya. I loved your answer when Aravind asked you about how do you find your balance, and you said it doesn't tire you, this is what you like. I'm just curious that this is something which your father ran for 40 years, and yet this was your passion, or how did you find out that? Or rather, the question what I'm inclining to is, how can one find what we really like in spite of what the past or people around you, especially your family, tend to incline you towards something which they've been doing? How did you manage to do it?
So I'll be very honest with you. I was in the US to do my master's, and the only thing I was sure of was that I wanted to come back to India. When I came back to India, it was not my intention to work with my father. I was looking for a job. This happened by chance because I just said I'll spend 6 months before moving to Bangalore to stay at home because I'll never get an opportunity again. And in that 6 months, instead of staying at home, I'll come work with you in the factory. And then I never looked back. What has worked for me, I think, is to not close my mind to anything. I'm just very open to try out everything new. I said, okay, I'll try this. I worked in manufacturing for some time. Then we were acquired by an Austrian company. We were looking for a CFO. I said, okay, I want to apply. I will go back to school. I will learn finance, and I will come back and work as the CFO. So I did that. Then I moved to work into operations for 3 years. What has worked for me is to not shut my mind out and give everything a try. And the second thing that really worked for me was my genuine love to be with people. So I think that's what I realized while I was working, that this is really something that I enjoy. And that's where I said, okay, this is the path that I want to take.
Very relatable. Thank you so much.
We have a question here in the first table.
It's a wonderful session today. I'm very happy to be seated here. And there's a lot of women here. And I'm being a CEO of Maclocks Private Limited. I have a question for Ravi here. Ravi Kumar. It's quite wonderful to know that there are 25,000 women coming from rural in the industry. Because Supriya was mentioning it was way back, she was facing only men. So how did you make this happen? And what are the difficulties you faced? And what are the challenges? Because even I'm looking for the same thing. So I'm also empowering women here. I'm bringing a lot of women in the IT, SAP technologies, anything. What I want to do here, I want to know more about how did you manage 25,000 from the rural, and what flexibility you gave to them, and what are other things, challenges which you're facing?
Thank you, wonderful question. And I must say this has been happening over years. It's not new, our organization is there for many, many years. And I think, again, I'll go back to the purpose, because when this was set up, the purpose was very clear that we would love to have a lot of women working with us. It also helps that some of the skills that you need are actually in rural areas where women are taught by many organizations how to do a lot of stuff that we need as skills in our factories. So that's one. But I think the bigger question is, especially in a rural setting, not so much urban, it's also a question of the family or the environment around the lady, and this is something our keynote speaker Supriya was talking about. A lot of other people influence whether a woman should go to work or not. This also includes, surprisingly, not just the husband or let's say the brothers or the parents, it also includes the sarpanch of the village. Very interesting. And it's also a lot of other people in the village. So some things that we do as an organization, to answer your question, is to really go into the villages. So we don't wait for people to come and apply to us. We actually have a HR team that goes into a village, canvassing for people to join us. It helps that we are a good brand, well known, but we also talk about what we are doing for women, so that the first thing is, of course, safety and security. I think a lot of people, especially in a rural setting, look for that. They are worried about a second shift because by the time you reach home, it's going to be late. The other thing that a lot of women worry about, and I'm not being biased here, but again, Supriya spoke about it, it's also about taking care of the family, right? They worry that they'll go and work in a factory and they don't have time to take care of the family. There are women who worry about the fact that they can't cook and come to office or whatever. So we try and take care of all of that. So we have things like, transport it's free. We pick up, our colleagues from wherever they are in rural settings, bring them to a factory. We try and place our factories in places where we could really go and hire them. For our new factories, for example, we actually do the survey first. This is one very interesting thing where the HR guys go first into the area, and you don't send an engineer or, no offense, or let's say a structural guy who decides that this land is great for setting up a factory and a big building, but you send the HR guys first. You do a survey of the wages. I've done it myself for a new factory, and you actually go in and talk to people who are working there. A lot of NGOs work in such places. So for example, Tata Power does a lot of work in Orissa, and they actually train a lot of women. They do a lot of work with women. You all must look at it at some point. So very quickly, try and put in measures which help women look at it in an easier way. Is it easy to get to the factory? Is it easy to get some food at the factory? Is it economically viable? Is it something that is going to help me build a future for my family and my children? I think if you're answering all those questions and you're talking to them at their place, which is their environment, their home, their village, makes it a little easier.
Julian already told time up. Now I can't extend further. But before we conclude, one final simple question is that despite managing huge responsibility, if you observe, all of them are calm, composed, they're here early. Many of the participants, they were ahead of time actually, in fact. So what do? You meditate or you exercise, run, 2-3 things, all of you can share and we'll conclude the session. So what do you do to keep yourself fit? Yeah, all of you. The question is for everyone.
I listen to the boss at home. So she keeps me fit. And like I said, I've always had, only recently it's male bosses, but always women who I worked with in HR teams. And I can assure you they also talk about balance. And I learned this from them. And no offense, if you work with a lot of male colleagues and male bosses, this discussion is definitely not there.
Listen to the women at home.
So I think for me what works is spending about 1.5 hours every morning to myself. Either it's going for a walk or at the gym. And the second is, I think, to stop feeling guilty about anything.
Excellent. Thank you, Supriya. Sudarshan?
Affirmation, meditation, and small walk. But I want to say one more thing. February 14, somebody asked me, what did you do for Valentine's Day? I said I had my date with my love. So my love is my work, so that keeps me. Thank you.
Thank you. Lavanya?
So all jokes apart, I think so I like spending time with my family. Okay, I think so that's a great de-stress. I stay in a big family. I have in-laws, my grandparents, my kids. I love spending time. I ensure that morning I spend good quality time in the morning, so that that's one thing which you have said, tick the box, and then you have the full day to yourself. So I think so I de-stress by spending time with family.
Great. As I said in the beginning, it's a very rich panel, and I'm sure all of you would agree from that side also. It was a very rich, enlightening discussion. Thank you all very much for joining, and thank you everybody for listening. Thank you, Sia. Thank you.
You will agree with me how lively this session was. Thank you so much, Aravind. You were fabulous. I guess you're giving a tough competition to the other moderators for the evening. And no jokes apart, getting the best of the speakers. You were all fabulous, and on a critical topic on leadership dynamics on this ever-changing technology. May I call upon Aravind to give a token of our appreciation to our speakers, please? To Ms. Lavanya. Okay, we'll start with Mr. Ravi.
Thank you, Ravi. Thank you very much.
To Ms. Supriya. To Mr. Sudarshan. And to Ms. Lavanya. May I call upon Aparna to hand over our appreciation to Mr. Aravind, who was at his best with a dash of humor today.